Marmara Urban Forum. Today we're going to talk about culture for collaboration, and this is one of the first two sessions we have organized within this framework and referring to these concepts. As you can see, this is the reflection of a project carried out in collaboration with the Istanbul Culture and Arts Foundation and the Istanbul Municipality. As you can see, this is a very critical question. We are trying to prioritize how important it is to work together in matters of culture and arts by stakeholders of the municipalities and the citizens. So you please feel free to visit the website of the project. So today we are going to talk about culture for collaboration, and tomorrow we are going to theorize a bit on politics of culture. So today we have some very distinguished speakers from different parts of the country, Turkey, and we will be talking about some good practices and examples. So you have detailed information about their biographies on the web page. So the first speaker will be Bengi Hanım from the Mersin Metropolitan Municipality and responsible for cultural and social affairs at the municipality. I think it was in 2018 when she was chosen as the best women opera singer in Turkey. And she has been the director of Mersin Opera and Ballet Institution. Now she is working as the coordinator of Cultural and Social Affairs Department. Ali Güney, he is representing the literary part of the issue. He has a MA degree in environmental engineering, and he has written a number of fiction books. And his existence here is also very critical in the sense that he is directing the Social Innovation Agency, an affiliate of Konya Municipality. And he has very kindly obliged to our invitation and came here. And we also have from Ankara City Council, the Deputy General Secretary of the City Council. In 2021, he has a number of very important awards in the facilitation of cultural activities. So today we're going to talk about our speakers with the cultural dimension of facilitation processes, culture and collaboration. I'm going to ask them about the relationship between the urban space, the city itself, and culture. And then I'm going to ask them to deliver their personal experiences. And in the remaining time, if you will have any other questions and contributions, we will have yours as much as time will allow. So Bengi Hanım, let's start with you. Culture, city, collaboration, and democracy. What would you think about it? Well, first of all, welcome everyone. We are very happy of this collaboration and this unity, because we know that when cultural activities are part of the city at large, they prove very fruitful indeed. As Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, in all studies we carry out in the fields of culture and arts, we have been embracing a unifying perspective, supportive at the same time, because we work in real time, in collaboration with NGOs, and as Mersin Büyükşehir, as Mersin Metropolitan Municipality, we are trying to be stakeholders to these kinds of projects. It excites us very much indeed, and it makes us very happy, because our common aim is to have a wider area for these artistic activities and cultural activities. It's our common aim to raise awareness in these areas, so that a generalized awareness within the general public will be raised. As you have said, democracy is another important concept. We are trying to position ourselves in equal distance to everyone. So this is a very important study for us. So in the second round, you can go into further details. Yes, of course. I would like to do that very much. So Professor Ali? Well, thank you very much. It's very valuable to be a speaker at MARUF. Both the Unity of Municipalities and Istanbul Culture and Arts Foundation have kindly invited us to here. If you have a chance to show my presentation on the screen, please do so. So we have established an innovation agency, and the main aspect being that the concept itself is social. So from a theoretical perspective, social innovation, culture industry, and urbanization, or the city itself. When we started studying the literature, we have seen that cultural activities could be measurable, and this is a journey which includes different components and pillars. So in Turkey, the concept of innovation has always been thought in line with technology and capital and R&D and the manufacturing industry. But the concept of innovation is also in close affiliation with culture itself. I was educated at a technical university myself, so I was a first-hand witness to this relationality between innovation and technology. But then we should not be ignorant to social problems and issues and other cultural factors, because we have been organizing different development programs, and perhaps we are talking about the change of some hierarchical issues. So we are not very much aware of the social aspects. So when we use the word, the collocation social innovation, it might sound somehow foreign to our ears, but culture is also closely affiliated with the concept of innovation. We are talking about these social issues, and the social innovation as a concept comes out of this kind of relationality. And actually it is very close to the concept of foundation, vakıf in Turkish, which has been a traditional part of our society and culture. So we think that there is a close relationality between matters that are social and cultural issues. Our grandmother used to tell us that she wanted us to be friends with closed children. What she meant by closed children was like she meant that she wanted us to be friends with children part of a certain culture, and Adorno refers to this as a kind of cultural industry and migration. So what these children, I mean, she definitely wanted us to be friends with those intelligent children. But when we talk about intelligent or smart children, what do we really mean? What will they add to ourselves? So again, our systems and support mechanisms need to be standardized. In Korea and in France, we have seen a number of niche examples. Our fundamental difference from them is that when we were working on the concept of social innovation, we did not forget the experiences and practices of those who have started this journey before us. And I think there is no issue. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem to say it, but we have different communities and groups of people where we learn social innovation. They have some practices, they have some academic studies. So we are all talking about different layers of accumulated knowledge. And what we're trying to do is as my grandmother has urged us to get along and be friends with smart children, we, on a similar vein, wanted to direct cities to create social value and cultural value. Of course, this is not our only task. We are also trying to build a society based on data. So in this session of social innovation, I've just wanted to add up to the cultural aspect of things. This is all I wanted to say about this issue. Well, thank you very much. So you were very much to the point, and you only used 10 seconds more than the time you're allocated, so I appreciate that. So our next speaker, please. Well, I really thank MARUF. This is a very exciting experience for all of us. Mine is an interesting position, and after the two speakers which have taken up the word before me, I mean, it's like I am positioned on the periphery of things, not very much involved in all things, but still trying to create an impact. I live in Ankara, in the capital city of Turkey, which is a very difficult city, and in order to change some things in the area of culture, well, we are trying to do some things. It's not always easy to understand things, because in a city which we could define as post-Gökçek, or to the time after the previous mayor, of course, let me try to define what I'm trying to say in relation to Ankara, especially after the declaration of the Republic, in areas of culture, in areas of conceptualization. Ankara, as the capital city of this newfound country, was a point of reference, but it has lost its significance in time. And we don't want Ankara to be remembered with its folk music and dances only. We want Ankara to be known for its own cultural value, because it has a very rich and diverse cultural heritage. That was the very starting point for us. And we have also discussed amongst ourselves like what the right starting point should be. And we had arguments amongst one another, and we needed to have a right paradigm. Is culture a project? Sometimes it's a project whose output is kind of cultural output. But fundamentally speaking, I mean, we can use a metaphor. It's a fact that it needs to have a seriously defined paradigm. And I'm going to try to summarize the thresholds we have gone through. So when we were first starting these issues, we started to work on this paradigm. And it's like a kind of cloth, a kind of shroud. It's a kind of cloth that shrouds everything, but it also gives you information about what is hidden beneath that piece of cloth. Sometimes you understand it very clearly, sometimes it's like nothing exists beneath that cloth. It's like a blanket, it's a kind of existential mode. And secondly, it's a mosaic, it's a kind of patchwork blanket comprised of different parts. But this mosaic, this pattern may not be functional all the time. You may not warm yourself up with a patchwork blanket only. And culture is also a kind of intervention. It's a kind of stylish positioning as well. It might be soft or hard. Culture is also about marginality and people with different ways of looking at the world. And it's, only through this kind of different perspectives that you can create something cultural. And culture also produces things ordinary that comes through the different groups of communities and people living in that city. So the most important aspect of the production of that ordinariness and the attempt to go beyond that ordinariness is what makes a city a real city. And let me try to summarize it with this blanket metaphor. I mean, you might have a real blanket, woolen blanket, or a patchwork one, or a bedcloth, but then you need to be able to see the differences. So an NGO in itself will never be sufficient to deal with matters of culture. We need to have an ecosystem where every different stakeholder will be able to come together and act in collaboration and in an environment of trust, because without trust you can't produce anything, especially in the area of culture. So great, that's really great, because you are really keeping up with the time, and this is not a coincidence. Culture's relation with technology and innovation, and then the metaphor you used, I mean, which you said it's like a blanket. It's really very interesting. So this has made things somehow tangible in our minds, so we can understand it better. Thank you for that. Now you have your experience from Mersin. So please, as the main actor behind that, could you please elaborate more on that experience? So we kept it short in the intro because we wanted to allocate more time to this section, of course. So we have an important structure. It's MDK, value-adding actors to Mersin. And then we have, again, another affiliate of this. 2 years ago, we've started to roll out our introductory meetings, during which we have built the main outline. And in 2022, we have established a branch directorate. MDK represented a great investment on our side. We wanted to bring together the experts and experienced people in areas of culture, like academicians and local governments. There were a number of councils. And why did we establish it? We wanted to create real-time synchronization, and we really attach great importance to matters of culture. Mersin as a city is one of those cities in Turkey. Mersin Opera and Ballet Institution. I mean, we have 6 of them in Turkey, and the 4th is in Mersin. And this is a great example and a great proof of what I have just said. People in Mersin really give great importance to art and culture. So what we were essentially trying to do was to synchronize all these activities rolled out on different planes, bring them together, and it's not only for our city only. We really wanted to scale up to international levels as well and support whatever is being done in these areas. And in addition to that, we wanted to support and encourage and contribute to the existing studies and activities, like organizing cultural and art events and festivals. So followed by that, the NGOs, professionals, representatives of NGOs and academicians working on these areas, we have established our councils. Let me give you some examples. Amongst our councils in Mersin Value-Adding Actors platform, we include in people and actors and artists from the fields of gastronomy, tourism, urban design, architecture, and arts, plastic arts, and so on. We have 11 councils like that. And another important highlight we have on hand is that, in line with the principles we have established for ourselves, we have tried to think about what the city really wants and what things we could do so that different actions taking place on different planes could be synchronized, and what actions could be done to raise awareness amongst the general public. In line with that, we have rolled out mid-term and long-term projects. These are studies that excite us very much. This year we're going to organize the third of our fiction award, and we have this literature festival. This is a project of our literature council, and during the last years we had a photography contest in photography. And this year, again, our photography council has rolled out another competition in this field amongst high schools. And in the World Environment Day, we have some other studies. This year, we are organizing this international art contest. And in our literature festival, we have this short story and poetry contests. In our plastic arts council, we are planning to go through an aesthetics symposium, and we have established an art foundation, an art camp for plastic artists. So we really want this study to be a role model for other cities. And this shows us what a city really needs in these areas. For example, in our short story competition in the literary council we have, this has been rolled out in collaboration with the İçel Art Foundation, which was founded in 1988 in Mersin years ago. And again, in our council, we have a group of artists and writers and authors and novelists who make up this council. And we are rolling out different projects in the area of fiction and literature with them. And of course, the same structure will have to be built in Tarsus, because the appetite we had in this project encouraged us to do the same thing and replicate this model in Tarsus. So, because it represents a geographical region which is historically been called as the cradle of civilizations and culture. In the Tarsus organization, we have 12 councils. So with all these studies, we are talking about a widely spread and uniting and innovative and comprehensive and all-embracing framework with professionals, with academicians and stakeholders and academicians and NGOs. These are some very valuable studies indeed, and we really try very hard to increase the stakes and improve our dynamics. This is what we always say. The cultural field itself is offering us a platform where the city itself can show up and show itself, all with its values and heritage. So what we aim at essentially is such studies could be implemented in other places. If they already exist in a place, they could be improved, and this could be used as a role model. And as said, together with the TDK Council, those value-adding actors for Tarsus platform, we are going to organize the second International Tarsus Festival. So in line with these festivals, it is really dispersed all around the city. Not only the city itself, we are trying to disseminate whatever we are doing all throughout the region. So Mersin is being enlightened with art, and we really want that enlightenment to disseminate to all parts of Turkey, because Mersin is the mother of pearl for us. It's a kind of pearl, it's very valuable, and we know that the steps we have taken and the actions we have rolled out have been influential. In 2002, we were very much, in 2022, in October, we just wanted to organized on a more corporate tone, and we have established a directorate, a branch, if you like. So we have, including Can Coşkuner, 5 other branch managers. He is here with me today. We are organizing our TDK and MDK meetings with these members on a regular basis, and we are working on the project phases and installation and implementation of our activities, and also the cinema branch and the urban unity office, which we give great importance, has been also established because we have a very different outlook to Mersin, really. Mersin is a rising star and a rising value for Turkey and for the whole region, actually, and we are very willing to bolster that up and move along this journey. That's why the cinema, the movie office is very important for us. Because what that inspires in us is that when there is a need, and when a need comes up, well, I'm an artist myself, but I'm representing the bureaucratic part of these things as well. So from a bureaucratic level, you may not be able to see everything, but the representatives of important institutions and actors in this field alert us to those details which might be missed out by actors like ours. So from that perspective, the MDK and TDK platforms in Mersin and Tarsus have been very useful and very efficient. I would like to greet our mentors from here because they have really worked very hard, and my time is up. Well, thank you very much.
Biraz kent konseyi yapılanmasına benzeyen ama bunun kültür odaklı.
It's like the city culture structure, but it's a culture-oriented project. So it's actually creating participation out of culture, not vice versa. And thanks to these cultural organizations, there is this democratic participatory collaboration. You gave a lot of examples, literature, festivals. I think the biggest success is that it's just a single competition. We want Nergis Festival. So 3 neighborhood headmen gave this petition, and that's how this festival was held. And then the other neighborhood headmen wanted to be part of this. Can I say something about that? Well, maybe in the end. Now, we'll continue with social innovation. Ali Hoca, I think maybe you were inspired because I was very impressed. So it's actually a living lab. It's very similar to the living labs as a structure. And when you think of innovation, it's something more technical, but it's about the city culture, the living spaces. It's a great experience. So let's hear the experience from you. Thank you. In fact, on the left side, you see some expressions, setting up a system, modeling, and impact measurement. These are things that we talk a lot about. So it is a database decision-making mechanism. So I don't know which MARUF that will be, but the 6th-year director will probably explain the database decision mechanism, because we want to establish this data culture. Our goal is to ensure that in planning, there is a certain center and everything comes from that center, but we actually want the people who live there. We want to get their opinions, and we want to include people outside the room to be part of this culture. That's why data is very valuable for us, and we use it a lot. There are certain works that we have created, like the disaster zone management. We have the social solution camp. And we explain this collaboration model in Uzbekistan, and we have some podcasts. And you see our venues under there. There is Sia Meram, and we can host you in other hubs. So culture and culture industry, these are our functions here. With the Ministry of Culture support, we work on qualified human resources. We organize summer schools. We want to have qualified human resources in the publication sector. I'm talking about book publishing. We're in top 10 in the world. There is a lot of book publishing in our country for various purposes, but in the publication sector, we looked at the qualified human capital. We saw a gap our colleague got a training on children's publications. We actually organized a training with the experts in the field for about a week, and Konya has very important accumulation, so it has an important effect. And we create spaces, we have urban transformation, and we want the social impact team to work side by side with the technical team. We are not talking about a public, an urban transformation. We worked in Mevlana, and for the first time in Turkey, we realized this project, and we have Kreaton. So we have architects, technical people, they're part of this process, but maybe cultural people like poets or authors, they just, talk in the final phase. It's generally architects and city planners, but as far as we saw, in coming up with the user experience, we don't disregard the young people and the cultural people. We choose cultural sites. They ask us why. Well, they create architecture projects. We don't hide them. Our colleagues who participate in these competitions get a project training. They offer us ideas, and the biggest advantage for us is that we feel the young perspective here very closely here. So we really work hard for impact management, and there is the Copyrights General Directorate. They work in the field of culture, and they're a very visionary team, and thanks to them, we actually have this cultural industry incubation center in SIA, and we have the summer school program. There are 5 universities in our city, and especially we gather our friends who are interested, and they were with us for a week. We have these posters about culture, music, cycling, diplomacy. Like on the 9th of October, we have the diplomacy event. We talk about cultural heritage, and we have the city and migration poster. So we just want to tell a story. We want to be the ones telling the story. And there is this girl turning her back to us. There is the synchrony of the notes. So there is this detailed work by the design team, and we see different examples of this in Konya, and we're working hard to make it more institutional. We have different publications. City Monography, it's our girls teacher school, and we have this Konya Bazaar's book. It's a project where our sociology team was on the field, and we have this book called Mevlana Bazaar. This is like the first shopping mall, so we transformed this area. We had tea with the people there. We consulted with them in this architectural project, so we worked with the team there, And these are our publications from the Metropolitan Municipality. We wanted the social innovation literature to be translated into Turkish. You can access it on the digital channels. And during the pandemic, we worked on the courier, because you remember how the couriers became very popular. If you do social innovation work, you have this agenda to create the right literature and, database public policy. We have this work. We also have our podcasts. Particularly, we realized that the young people listen to podcasts a lot. I'm a podcast consumer, so we thought we could do something together with our colleagues. And we have these podcasts. We have 3 series. Innovation Detective being one of them. So social innovation is another thing. We're discussing the different things that we do in these sessions, but maybe in one session we can talk about our failures, because social innovation, the impact work, we see the word innovation a lot, and we have to understand one thing. We all live in this structure called the city, and our technical teams create a user experience. They show you the path. It could be the opening of a cultural center, or setting up a library, or bringing a museum to the city. So in all these activities, the user experience is very important. You have to think about all the layers of the city, because sometimes, we have people who are older than 60, and we have to think about that as well. And we may think we're doing something well, but social innovation can be a good starting point. There isn't much of a literature formed in this area. We carry out R&D work. We do technological work. You have guides, and what you do is identified very clearly. But in social innovation, it has to be specific for the local needs. What is social? What is innovation? There may be certain handicaps, and there might be some difficulties in bringing the city together. For example, I saw the name socioparks in some universities, but they're not really active. They're like the technoparks. So you have to look at the impact of the technoparks as well. So some of the concepts are very fashionable and they're very trendy, but we have to evaluate its impact beforehand. We have to create the stakeholders beforehand, and we have to think backwards about what we did and come up with a guideline. I have 10 seconds. I just took long. Thank you very much. Ali Bey has this book with Marcus Croft. So this innovation center is a practical example of what they did. Well, you have been working in the city council for very long years. Konya has this very old culture, and you took this post during the post-gag period, especially during the pandemic. There was very interesting work carried out in the city councils. So maybe you can tell us from a practitioner and professor perspective about what you did. I want to thank MARUF and İKSV very much, because it enabled us to listen to this exciting experience. We're also very excited as people of Ankara, because there is this interesting situation in Ankara in the last 20 years. The local governments was very much detached from culture, and the Ankara people try to uphold their own culture. There is the Women's Films Festival, there is the jazz festival. It's all done with their own means, but this is very important because in Ankara there is this incredible capacity outside the local governments. And when we started discussing the city council, we didn't think of any cultural arts work because it looked like the mayor would change, but there were going to be two opposite political parties and their discussion would not bring much of a contribution to the city. So we wanted to come up with the city council as a new decision-making area, but after setting up the council, we had this really interesting experience that taught us a lot because, I tried to explain the blanket metaphor, and there was so much that accumulated there. This was suddenly part of the city culture, the city council. One of our main principles is to somewhat ensure becoming an intermediary, and when there is any cultural entrepreneurship, it started coming to the city culture, and it started this discussion. So there are these cliches, these different sectors, and these different creation areas, and cultural creation and dynamism. You have to build a meaningful link. A city can only become a productive site that way. If you just leave it to the mediocre, the cultural development won't be as expected in the city. But, if you leave it to the avant-garde only, then you will actually stop masses from dealing with the culture or being interested in the culture. So, we talk about encounters. If you come to Ankara, in the corner of the youth park, there is this building that was built during Melih Gökçek's time. He gave this dinner for ambassadors once a year, and he used it for family members for the rest of the time. I didn't even notice the building until then, and we didn't know about this building as the people of Ankara. And by the way, before the elections, there was no new cultural site in the city because it was all dedicated to the political parties. So right now in Ankara, all kinds of activities are carried out in this place. Opera singers, Chamber of Commerce members, artists, professional representatives, academicians get together there, and there are very unprecedented results. Maybe during the pandemic, there were artists who were in great difficulty, and it was one of the places where social aid was discussed during that time, and this turned into this aid by the municipality, and there was aid for the theaters because those people had the chance to get together there. And they had workshops there to discuss problems, and all of a sudden there was a need for open space during the pandemic. Ankara Arks, there was this young architecture student. There was this idle space, and it was turned into this open space for events. They worked in the warehouses, they just worked till the last moment, and we honored everyone who worked in that space by writing their names on the walls. We found a warehouse at the back of the building. Lale Özgener, a professor from Middle East Technical University, said we can build an exhibition hall, and we turned it into an exhibition hall. Right now, every day of the week, there is an event. You know, there is this space where there are all sorts of activities. We share this on social media, and my friends say, you are doing so much. I said, I'm not doing anything, I'm just sharing this. But encounters, that was the key word behind. The second concept is, it's a trust ecosystem. And there is this music band, and they said, we don't have anywhere to give a concert, and they come to us. So what do we have at hand? What do we offer people? Nothing. We are sincerely interested in their problems. We put them in touch with people. In fact, we just bring them together with the relevant people. So this created this safety, security, or trust ecosystem, and there is very interesting partnership. So with the mural artist, we had these great murals constructed. You know, the police allowed that. They actually did it together. Normally they would chase these people away, and they actually started this competition. So we see the civil initiative spreading across the city. Of course, this is not a perfect story. Maybe 5 out of 100 projects could advance, but even that is a gain that makes us happy. For one thing, there is the space for negotiating the designs. After 18 years, for the first time, we have this architecture competition in Ankara. We started 4, one after the other, and now the municipalities, we are forcing the municipality to take further steps. The difficulty is sustaining this. In coming up with these competitions, there were a lot of debates. So actually, we're trying to advance the cultural landscape in the city. Well, culture can easily turn into black and white discussions. It can polarize people immediately. I'm a city planner, and I think that you should be black and white when it comes to vandalism. If somebody says, let's bring down the August temple and build a skyscraper, I think we should be all against that. But there are certain topics where you can get together around the table and generate ideas, discuss alternatives, and the municipality can allow that to a certain extent. So when this is the case, there can be very interesting results. For example, we have some structures that don't exist in other city cultures. We have a consultancy board like Rengin Gökmen and Rahmi Koç, director. So we have this structure where we get together on a regular basis, and with regard to the identity of the city, we exchange ideas as to what we can do. Could we reach where we wanted? Of course not, but in the capital city, Ankara, we had the chance to trigger this hidden potential. We're only at the beginning of the process. We're not as advanced as we wish to be, but we have huge potential, and we want to continue this civil initiative. If we can do that, Ankara can become a reference point once again. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. In fact, it's something that served our thinking, because culture can be very flexible and collaborative. It's important because there are 3 cities, 3 different experiences. In one, there is a new platform set up by the municipality affiliated with a branch. In another one, we see an initiative, and they actually carry this concept of innovation to the social space. And there is a city council. So one branch, one affiliate, and one council, but all three use culture as a democratization tool. It's very important because we actually see that there is this copy-paste approach sometimes, and in these examples we saw this unique structure, and in fact the city council does things based on this initiative, achieving great success. So you need culture for collaboration and innovation. Without further ado, I want to turn to you if you have any questions or contributions. There is a microphone. So we'll get the questions together and then we can have a quick tour for answers. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm a researcher at Aydın University. We ran this project with the municipality that is funded by TÜBİTAK. So coming up, working with the municipality, my main goal was to create a digital participation platform with the municipality, and I wanted to gain some field experience, and I wanted to teach citizens digital democracy in the process. So we have 4 projects that is open to the voting of the citizens. And when I looked at the results, I realized there are certain things that I couldn't think about.
So this platform will contribute so that I will come up with more creative solutions. And I know that this is a multicultural platform. And from a periodical perspective, for those people who have migrated to Germany previously, who have spent years there but still can't speak German, and I've become aware of the fact that they've started speaking German at an instant just because they were able to use this platform. And there is this culture of a sense of belonging to a tribe, which still continues in Germany. There are communities where the same dynamics of a tribal community are still very much alive. Of course, we are talking about a very active city, so I'm curious about your contributions in this area. So I have came up with this. I come up with this design of a collaborative structure, like how I could produce culture out of culture itself. I've looked for potential things to add up. So this multicultural society. So this digital process comprised of a period of 2 weeks. So what would your suggestions be for a further improvement? Let's have another question, and then, but perhaps it's not here where you can find the answer. Utur is with us, the writer of Digital Fantasies. Perhaps you will get to meet her with this opportunity. So my question is, so I'm curious, is this a kind of threat for a public or government? Because it might be beneficial for the society, but what could the sustainability level of it be for public institution perspective. So I just want you to expound. So I'm not the one who's going to answer. I'm just forwarding the questions to our speakers, but I'm sure our professors are willing to share some answers. And I think we have no other questions. Let's have a quick tour of 1.5 minutes. I have things to add. You talked about Nergis Şenli, and it could be useful to you in Mersin. It's not only the steps and actions which these councils plan. The elderlies or ordinary citizens are willing to come up with a number of activities as well. So we first make an evaluation of those suggestions and expectations. Let's say if it's about the Mersin value-adding actors platform, and let's imagine that someone is willing to open up an exhibition. And once such an idea comes up, we forward them to the relevant councils of our platform. There are some offers and suggestions from the elderly and from local governments and local directors. They ask to organize like a number of festivals for harvesting time and for some other cultural aspects. So the festivals are important for us because, well, it's easy to organize a festival, but the most important thing is that they are sustainable. So their ideas, their perspectives, and the fact that they will be able to support us and everything that we do together should assume a value-adding characteristic. This is where the real value comes from. So the only thing I'm going to say is, as an opera singer, an artist, I'm sorry because I have this bad voice due to a flu, the cold I get. It could have been more different. So sorry for that. Your voice with this cold is much better than my normal voice, mind you. So that this interaction was very enjoyable for me. Yes, please. So there were 2 questions. Your question has reminded me of an article which was titled as The Signs of Turning People into Ignorant People. So we really work on this actually, because reacting to everything around you is not the healthiest thing to do, and we think that we are doing something clever, and we have been awarded for that by an international arena. But one thing that I came up most was that when you don't ask the question to the relevant party, you can't find your answer. So the technocrats, people managing and leading these areas, come onto the scene, and you will be feeling that tension between these different polarities and the necessities of different dynamics. There was this incident we lived through in the area of tourism. Let me talk about it a bit. Where we are planning master plans for touristic activities, as you know, and together with the receptionists that work there, we had a meeting with them. The top management were very much well educated, like MA degrees in Barcelona and things from there. And interestingly enough, 90% of the Mevlana Museum was not included in this study. It included some academic and directorship studies, but what you call a university is like that. Let's say you are going out for a dinner with your spouse, and the way the waiter behaves affects your mood. And tourism is such an industry that, yeah, I mean, one day in this hotel and the other day in the other hotel. So eventually what happened was we implemented this. We came together with the hotels, and the hotel representatives came back to us. And they said, we won't be able to understand it in restaurants. Our presentations have proven to be the wrong ones. This was what we had been told by the hotel representatives. So you need to act as a bridge. This is a competitive industry. It's a problem if you set two hotel managers side by side. So it's difficult to bring them together anyhow. And later, there is a natural transformation. In terms of public management, these are the challenges, but a good public manager will be able to turn everything into opportunity. Thank you. Let me answer the questions directly. Well, inclusiveness and participation, these have been important concepts for me for a long time. You talked about ordinariness, and ordinary things bring in things that you memorize, and you just start acting automatically. So the greatest error by local governments is usually all about those things which are taken for granted and which have been acted out for a long time without being questioned and updated and improved. But content production should be prioritized through facilitation things. So then what I would ask, well, then people would be able to say, well, there is a different thing here. And then we start receiving things in the real sense of the word. When we ask people, like, in what kind of a city you would like to live, well, they want to live in a green city. So if we have time, we are living in a city where we are dealing with this, and we know that things are not different. So only 1.5% of people in Turkey go to theater halls. You know, we have cultural festivals. So the Kent Council members were asked, and our answer is, so the content was created together with them and in collaboration, so the centers were determined, and that means less number of people feel that sense of belonging and less people participate. And when it comes to the issue whether it could be a threat or not, this is also something we can solve. Well, thank you. Thanks for the inspiration and for your contribution. So the second of Istanbul Culture and Arts Foundation session will be held tomorrow, and we wait you there as well. And it would be a multi-layered and theoretical session. Professor Zafer will have another meeting, but don't go there because it coincides with our second session, so please stay with us. Well, thank you for your contributions, and hope to see you tomorrow morning again.